Hope everybody's doing well. Apologize for the lack of video consistency recently. Just been really busy with starting up a new school, going to a new place to live, and getting a new job. And it's tough to bring everybody together at one specific time, but we're gonna work things out. However, a city that might not work things out is Cincinnati. Look, from Cincinnati, born and raised. Love the Bearcats, Bengals, Reds. This video is going to be mainly about them, although you could argue that Xavier and FC Cincinnati and the other Bearcat Sports and Musketeer Sports and Cincinnati State maybe have all had a tough time in sports as well. Cincinnati Cyclones. I know that FC Cincinnati won the regular season a couple years ago, but then lost to Columbus in the semifinals or whatnot. And then Xavier also has not had a great go of it as of late as well. We're going to talk about the Bearcats, Bengals, and Reds, how all of them are just poverty right now. And they're all poverty in their own ways, and they have been poverty for a little while. And it's tough to be a fan. If you are a Cincinnati sports fan, you're coming over here from a Cincinnati background, or if you come from a background where your teams don't win anything either, leave a comment. Let us know. Misery loves company. And if you're a North Dakota State fan, because that's what this video was kind of inspired by, was North Dakota State winning 10 national championships in like 13 years or something crazy like that. Good for you. Or if you're a New England fan or a Los Angeles fan, you've seen plenty of championships. But as a Cincinnati fan, many people talk about wanting to see one big championship before they die. And year after year, I'm convinced it'll never happen. So let's start off with the Bearcats losing tonight 48-68 on the road at Baylor. Look, I'll be careful with what I say because there's some Bearcats fans that may not like what I have to say here, but I'm just going to call it how it is. This team is not as good as we all thought. Do they have potential to maybe turn it around? Yeah, but they're also part of the city of Cincinnati. So, like I said, there's a sports curse around here. And that includes and extends to the college teams as well. The Bearcats, Wes Miller, talking with Zach the other day about it, kind of concerned about him. The in-game coaching stuff is not up to snuff, I would say. And I just don't think they really have all the pieces. I thought that Dan Skillings would have to take a step up. He's been playing all right. He's been putting up some points, but I just can't see him being like a superstar, All-American type player. And if you don't have any All-Americans, like a team like Kentucky, for example, or Iowa State, if you don't have any guys that are bona fide stars, the team has to be deep and they have to be very strong altogether. And when you have Day Thomas and Connor Hickman playing solid minutes for you, no offense to those guys. Love those guys. Sure, they're great people. But this is sports media, and sometimes you have to criticize people who you think highly of for their performance. And I just don't think this team is very good. Simple as that. I bought into it because as Cincinnati sports fans, we are optimistic about our teams, sometimes overly optimistic, if you ask me. So I bought into it, and they just disappointed so far. They're 0-3 in conference play. They've lost to Kansas State, which was bad. Arizona at home. Arizona's stepping up, and then Baylor. You can't afford to just keep stacking these losses. You have to get a big win in Big 12 play, and it has to come soon because the Big 12 is still a gauntlet, and you have to win a decent amount of Big 12 games to ride yourself into that tournament, especially with the non-conference strength of schedule that UC had with, their kind of top win coming over Dayton and Xavier. I just feel as if Cincinnati Bearcats need to go back. Zach and I were just texting about this, which was another inspiration for it. They need to go back to the days of Kyle Washington, the days of Jacob Evans, the days of Jaron Cumberland, the days of Gary Clark. Even those days were bittersweet because they were marred by early tournament exits in the Mick Cronin era, but at least they were contending nationally, and they were nationally relevant, albeit playing in a weaker conference than the Big 12. Those days were great. Some people might not consider those days great, but we consider those days great, and we just want a college basketball team similar to that. Again, a team that can contend for the tournament. They haven't made the NCAA tournament since 2019. 2019 was a long time ago. It's 2025 now. We're approaching March of 2025, and the Bearcats still might not make the NCAA tournament. That's crazy to me. Next up, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. We don't talk a lot of football on this channel. In fact, we're not even going to do much to it, but I'll just give a quick rant about the Bengals. I love the Bengals. Born and raised Bengals fan. Went to games all the time growing up. But I'm kind of ashamed to be a Bengals fan in a way. The history of the Bengals has been awful. Just flat out. They have not been a good franchise. They're marred by just a bunch of stupid things. The first and foremost being that Steelers game in the early to mid 2000s. I think it was 2015, in which they went up, and then that was the play that Vontaze Burfict hit Antonio Brown in the head, which changed both of their lives. But nevertheless, the Bengals have always struggled. Yes, I do understand that a few years ago they were in the Super Bowl, but even in that Super Bowl, that was the most winnable Super Bowl ever. That Rams team was good, but they weren't like world beaters. Like, it's not like they lost to the prime Chiefs or the prime Patriots in the Super Bowl. That was a winnable Super Bowl. And with the state of the AFC and all the good quarterbacks that are in it, you just never know when you're going to get back there. And let's just talk quickly about the 2024 season for the Bengals. It was awful. I hated it. I'm sure there are millions of people giving their takes on it, ESPN. But from a Bengals fan, I'll state the obvious first. It was so hard watching Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson ball out week after week. Just go crazy and not have anything to show for it. Like, how many times did a Triple Crown winner, a sack leader, and a passing yard leader not make the playoffs? Like, just the thought of that is ridiculous. But football is a team sport. And obviously the defense, let us down. Just fired a defensive coordinator. But I feel as if it's more systemically and societally rooted in Bengalization, where they'll never do like terrible, 9-8. I've seen a million years where the Bengals are good enough to you know, go 9-8 or 8-9, or they're never at the very, very bottom. In fact, when they were at the very bottom, it was better because, we got Burrow and Chase. But I fear that for the rest of Burrow and Chase's career, because they play for the Bengals, and they will for a long time, hopefully, I fear that they're just going to be Bengalized, where maybe they'll make a few wild card games here or there. Hey, maybe they'll even make it to another Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, when the lights are on, when the lights shine brightest, they might perform. Who knows? But there's going to be something, right? Something that's going to prevent them from getting over that hump, winning that championship. And I think all Bengals fans expected a huge season from the Bengals. Maybe expecting even a Super Bowl. I saw some people saying they just weren't good enough. Like, I'm looking at all of the other playoff teams, all of them are just like top to bottom better. The Bengals just have too many holes. And when you have an incompetent front office, and excuse my language here, not wanting to throw anybody on their bus, but an incompetent head coach. Great guy, but he's not a good head coach, in my opinion. You're never gonna get over that hump, unless for a miracle. And Cincinnati doesn't really get those. We don't really get breaks like that. And finally, we're going to go with the Reds. We'll be talking more Reds baseball as the season approaches. We have probably the most knowledgeable man on the planet about Reds baseball, two of them, in fact, on our ZVJ media team. But the Reds, and spoiler alert, we're going to give our predictions for this year in a little bit, but I don't have very high hopes for them this year. I just don't. Although they might have some pieces that are really good and really exciting, kind of similar to the Bengals. They have Ellie De La Cruz, exciting. They have Hunter Green, exciting pitcher. They have a bunch of, youngish talent that have all shown flashes before. And they have a new coach who I'm really excited about, a new manager in Terry Francona, who is honestly probably the best coach I've seen in my lifetime in any Cincinnati sports franchise. So maybe he can help them out a little bit, but I don't feel good. There's just a sinking feeling in my chest about the Reds season. Although they might be good on paper. And, Gavin Lux, shout out to you. That was a great addition. I like him. I just feel as if whatever they do, the Reds, who realistically haven't made the playoffs since 2014-15. They made it in that 2020 year, but it doesn't really count. And they haven't won a playoff series in, I think, since the 90s, maybe. I could be wrong about that, but it's been decades. And these Reds, De La Cruz might steal 100 bases. The counting stats might be great. Spencer Steer might pop off. I just feel as if there's always going to be a thing that prevents them from getting over the hump. It's kind of like a curse. That's my general take is, there are incompetent people. There are people who don't know ball. There are people who underperform. There are people who make mistakes. But Cincinnati sports are cursed. That's my main takeaway. Cincinnati sports are cursed. And if you're considering, becoming a Cincinnati sports fan, welcome. But just know that you're in for a lot of misery. because no matter how good it looks, even if the Reds somehow win the NL Central this year and go crazy, it's always going to be something. They're going to lose to a team that they're worse than. They're going to, have a freak injury. They're going to, something bad is always going to happen. Cincinnati Sports is cursed.